Hey guys, what's going on? This is kind of like the before the 1 o'clock so that I can kind of get people into the live forum so we can start talking about what we're going to be doing today. So, give it a little bit of time, see if anybody comes in, and then do me a favor, don't forget to hit the like down below as you join, and I'll continue to make that statement throughout this live broadcast, guys. So, let me go ahead and get this up on the computer, and we'll see what's going on. Hope everybody's having a good day out there, a good Saturday. Got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. The weather outside is pretty beautiful right now. And if you're just joining the live broadcast, don't forget to hit the like down below and throw in a comment so that we can go ahead and get this out to everybody else because it helps out that algorithm. We're going to be covering some Volkswagen stuff today, but we're going to give it a few more minutes while we wait for the 1 o'clock time to show up. So 1 o'clock comes up. So we got about 5 more minutes and we'll start the content, and we're covering some pretty good stuff today. So let me get this live stream up on here so I can see what you guys are asking and or talking about. What's everybody doing today? You having a good Saturday? Looks like there's some more storms in the Gulf of Mexico coming this way. Not looking forward to that. It's with my job, the hurricanes have kept me pretty busy. So let's see, going live. Hey, that's me. Can you guys hear the audio? All right. Can you guys hear the audio? All right. There's an echo. I'll have to mute that. All right. If you have any questions, don't forget to put the comments down below. It says comments are turned off. Let's see if we can turn the comments on. Okay. Well, comments are turned off until after the video, I guess. Then you guys can put comments on. Don't forget, if you are a member of the Facebook group, you can always hit me up with questions there, and I can answer them from that point too. So let's see, is it 1 o'clock yet? Nope, got about 3 more minutes till 1, then we'll start the actual content, guys. So yes, I've got my Facebook opened up too, and it's JWClassicVW on Facebook, so you can just search that, join the Facebook group, and then shoot some questions over there if you have any. I don't know why this isn't working. I don't go live very often, so this is new for me. Don't forget to like the video, guys, if you haven't liked it already. And if you have liked it already, then thank you very much. Okay, I know why. Because I had it set for kids. Let's change that and see if we can get some comments in here. Yeah, if you have your video set for kids, then they don't let you put comments in there. So see if that changes it. If you guys can start putting comments in there, go ahead and start putting some comments in. If you have anything you want to talk about, or just say hello, what you're doing today. 2 more minutes until 1 o'clock, guys, and then we'll go ahead and start covering what we're going to be talking about today. What's everybody else got going on? You having a good Saturday? It is beautiful here in Houston right now. Pretty darn gorgeous. Yes, it is. Get out there and take Goose for a ride here in a little bit for sure. So let's see if we got the comments going on this thing, on this video. Hey, yeah, you can add comments now. I'm gonna add one in here. Hello, world. That's me. Hello, world. Comment below, guys, with any questions that you have, and I'll try to hit those up throughout the Q&A. But I do have some questions that I receive via email and or the Facebook group. You guys always have questions for me because we all have questions. Even I got questions. That's what the That's what these forums are all about, Facebook group and YouTube. So we've got about 1 minute left before we start the content, and I'm looking forward to covering some of these things because I think it helps out quite a bit when I can answer questions in a live format like this, especially if you guys happen to comment below if you have any questions, because we're all working on our cars usually on the weekends when we have time, when we're not working. And let's see what we got covering today. We've got about 30 seconds left before we start the actual content. Who do we got? Who's out there? Who's watching? Hit me up with some comments below so I know who's here. Who wants a sticker? That doesn't have a sticker already. We got JWClassicVW stickers. I've got a few I got to send out, and let me know if you can hear the audio is okay. Hit me with a comment below if the audio is all right, guys. Hey, I got some guys in the chat over here. Good stuff. I don't speak Espanol. I'm sorry, but thanks for joining. What's up? What's going on? Let's pop this chat out so I got it separate, guys. Cool. Yeah, and if you guys like this format to where if I do a live video following my actual video that I release to kind of cover questions and stuff, just let me know, because I'm all about doing some live content if you guys find benefit in it. And if you do find benefit in it, don't forget to hit the like off to the side and comment down below, because it does help out this video getting pushed up in the algorithms out there and people tuning in. So, let's see. Good stuff. It's weird watching myself on the screen. Do I have something on my lip? It looks like I do. All right, guys. It's 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and cover this with a basic intro first. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jason with JWClassicVW. And a little about me. I'm a dad. I was a mechanic in the military, and now I work on my car part-time just like you guys do. And no, I'm not a mechanic for hire, so don't ask. That's what the YouTube channel is for, guys, right? I want to give a special shout out to Glenn the Duckman, who's been going through quite a bit of stuff out there in Florida. Some family losses, and then also the storm that just rolled through just kind of like wreaked havoc on the whole Fort Lauderdale, Florida area and around that area too. So in my Facebook group, if you are a member, you can find his GoFundMe, because I've shared it in there. If you can give $1, $10, whatever you can give, it helps out, and we take care of each other here in the VW community. So there's a little shout out to Glenn the Duckman. Also, let's talk about what we're covering today. First thing, we're going to be talking about some carburetor stuff, and more specifically the 44 IDFs, like the carburetors that I have. It'll kind of work out for 40 IDFs as well, if you happen to have that. And if you do have questions, hit me up in the chat. You like a sticker? How's the... I'm not sure what you're asking. How's the hero treating me? But yeah, I can get you a sticker. Just hit me up with your address. Go ahead and join if you're not already a member of the Facebook group. And if you are a member of the Facebook group, just hit me up with an IM with your address. Don't put your address in there, because I don't want everybody knowing your address. And I'll send one out to you. It's no charge, free for you guys, my subscribers. So we're also going to be covering suspension, more specifically the front suspension of Goose. I had quite a bit of questions on that when it comes to the Kingpins and setting up thrust, setting up when you're actually having to ream that out and add in the new bushings and stuff. So we're going to cover that. And then also rocker arm geometry. Yes, rocker arm geometry. I've had some love and some hate, and to all my haters out there, there's not very many of you, but I love you guys. Maybe you're tuned in, one of my 5 that are watching right now. We're going to cover rocker arm geometry side play. And we're also going to cover rocker arm geometry, the standard, the distribution of load between your valves and your lifters. So don't forget to like, guys, if you're watching this and you're enjoying it. But we're also going to be covering some hot topics in VW news, and also what's coming soon with videos. So let's get right into it, guys, and talk about carburetors and some of the questions I've received when it comes to carburetors. So the first thing that people seem to have problems with the bigger carburetors is syncing them up. I've got a few videos on that. Don't forget to check out my syncing videos. But also fuel pressure, loss of power. whenever you're setting up these carburetors. And a lot of that has to do with how you sync them and the linkage that you have. If you're like me, you picked up a set of used carburetors, and I got those off one of the Facebook groups, and the linkage was a little jacked up. The Heim joints were a little broken, and also I couldn't get the proper adjustment on the Heim joint just because of the way that linkage had been worn out. And whenever you get Webers, they usually come from, excuse me one second. If you get Webers, you get them from Redline, and the linkage that comes from Redline is all right as long as you take care of it, but it is a little fragile. So I ended up upgrading my linkage to the CB Performance linkage, and that helped out quite a bit. It's a little bit more beef and robust. So syncing is definitely one of the things you want to look out for when it comes to your carbs. Any questions? Any comments on that? How's it going from Maui? Man, how's it going from Maui? You guys out there in that VW community in Hawaii, I love that. I would love to be in Hawaii. You guys have a lot of Volkswagens out there, and I've actually stopped in on a couple of the live chats for a few guys and setting up their cars, and they're beautiful. Man, you guys got some nice VWs out in Hawaii. It's like cruising weather all the time, right? Thanks, man. I like making my videos, Brian Stinik, so appreciate it, buddy. The next thing I want to talk about with dual carburetors is making sure that you set your float level correctly. A lot of us, when we go into our carburetors or get dual carbs for the first time, we don't really understand that how important your float level being set right is. There's a top position and a lower position for your float that helps cut off that needle valve at the right position, allowing fuel to stop coming into the bowls. And if you don't have your float level set correct on both sides, because you might have one set different from the other one, it'll throw off all kinds of stuff when it comes to metering of your fuel going into your carburetor. The next thing that I would like to bring up is also cleaning of your jets. And this shout out goes to Easy Jeezy. If any of you guys ever watched Easy Jeezy's channel, he's a wealth of information, and he does all kinds of stuff with carburetors. And man, I've learned a ton from watching his videos. So the most likely problem with popping with your carburetors is probably a lean condition, to where you might not have the right jetting for your carburetors, which means you have to move your jetting up to eliminate that lean condition. But also, if you're getting any kind of clogging in your jets, it's going to happen with those idle jets. The idle jets on the side of IDF carburetors, or your idle jets on the top of, let's say, like IDAs or BRLAs. I think that's right. Yeah, I got a lot of information floating up in this brain. I mix it up sometimes. Let's see what's going on. Any more comments out there? Not yet. Don't forget to like, guys, if you're just joining this, and provide a comment to the video, because it really does help out the video getting pushed out there to guys in the VW community. So hope you guys like the new video that I released today. I always like showing Goose off and talking about some of the mods I've done to her. Moving on with carburetor issues that you might have. This common issue is there's a screen inside the carburetor that can get clogged up, and also your filter. Depending on if you've had your car for forever, or if you ever checked out your fuel system, you may have multiple fuel filters. You might have a fuel filter up towards the front of your tank. Also, inside of your tank, there's a screen that keeps fuel from debris getting down into the fuel system initially, like a pre-screen. So that screen inside your fuel tank could be clogged up with stuff. So getting a flashlight in there and looking down in will let you know if you got crap down inside of your fuel tank. That's kind of like stopping at that screen. And past that screen, some people have a filter right below the fuel tank, and then some people have a filter that's back towards the engine compartment, or in the engine compartment. I love it when I see the in the Facebook groups, people posting pictures of their fuel filter, and I'm just like, I'm waiting, because somebody's gonna say something. Those little plastic fuel filters being over top of the manifolds, or right over top of the distributor. It's like, oh no, it's not a good idea, guys. If you can relocate your filter, okay, let me say this. It's not a good idea if you don't have new fuel lines. If you don't have good German, like OE fuel lines, the right kind, the 5mm, the 7mm, you could be causing some, you're gonna have some problems with that fuel filter possibly leaking, and that's what causes the fires. So that's why a lot of people relocate that fuel filter to right above the transmission, and that's where I have mine. I have my fuel filter right above my transmission before it enters the engine compartment. With all the time invested in carbs, any future plans for fuel injection? Oh yeah. I can't really break out the news just yet on what I'm going to be doing for Goose's upgraded engine, but the general is going to be getting replaced completely. That's all I have to say. I've got a buddy of mine that I've been talking to and working with, and I'm going to be putting a real monster, a real monster in Goose, and it's gonna get ridiculous. I'm gonna have to be doing all kinds of upgrades to the braking system, because right now my bad brakes that I have in the front from air cooled are doing great when it comes to stopping my car, my baby, with that 2276. But when I put this monster engine, I mean, it's definitely EFI for sure, but there's lots of other things going on with it too that I'm gonna kind of save and let you guys know a little far along down the process of getting this engine put together. But yeah, EFI for sure. I love carburetors. I don't mind working on them, and I'm gonna keep the general for any future projects that I do have. And because I like talking to you guys about how to work on the carburetors, it'd be nice to have the general sitting on an engine stand that I can just fire up and go through, whatever you guys want to talk about when it comes to carburetors. So yeah, I'm going to do a whole series on tuning, syncing, rebuilding, and try to put that all kind of into one or two videos, so that, like, for the majority of my older videos, it's so spread out. Information's like, you gotta have to seek and find it. And I don't like that. I know you guys don't like that, so I'm going to try to be more consistent when it comes to providing more details down in the description of the videos, like I did on the one that I just released, so that I can help you guys out. Because I know that sometimes you just don't want to ask questions, but it definitely helps having information in the description below for you guys. So, cool. If you're just joining, don't forget to like the video and provide comments below. Also in the live chat, I'm watching the live chat, so if you have any questions, go ahead and hit me up with questions there. So, that's kind of like the basic information on carburetors. I want to move into the front suspension now, and if you've got a ball joint front suspension, life is a little bit easier for you than us guys that have the Kingpins. And I see a lot of Kingpin suspensions being used for Bajas or buggies or Manix buggies, which is great because that's what they're built for. They're a lot more stronger when it comes to off-road use, but with that, or any kind of like crazy driving like I do with Goose, the normal replacement like timeline when it comes to bushings in your Kingpin setup may change. If you have a stock application, it probably lasts you quite a while, maybe even the lifetime of when you have the car. But most of us that are getting these older Volkswagens are having to work on our Kingpins and ream them out. Like, I bought a Kingpin reamer and I've used it once. So if you're in the Houston area and you need to borrow a Kingpin reamer, just let me know and I'll let you borrow it. No charge. I don't charge for tool usage. As long as you get it back to me without it being jacked up, that's all I care about. So the question I had for the Kingpin setup in the front was thrust and thrust washers, and how do you measure that or get that gap kind of set up. And I've had a couple videos on this, but sometimes it gets lost in translation on how you want to do this. And the easiest thing to do, honestly, is to have it built. Have your Kingpin setup built already. Have it all together as you pull it out, and then you're gonna want to kind of like force up the spindle against the Kingpin carrier to find out what kind of gap you currently have in there, and measure that gap with some feeler gauges. Now, once you've got that gap figured out, you can tear apart your Kingpin assembly and measure the thrust washer that's already in there. If you have a thrust washer in there, because with mine, I didn't even have a thrust washer. So the whole process is going to change for that. But if you have a thrust washer in there, you can measure the thrust washer that you currently have in there that's been worn out, because that's what it's there for. It's to wear out so the rest of your suspension doesn't wear out. So that or the fiber washer will wear out. That thrust washer, you'll measure that, and you'll measure the gap that you measured before you took it apart, and figure out what your current gap is, the total gap, and then you kind of like subtract the tolerance, which is about 3 thousandths. I think it was like a plus or minus 1 millimeter, which is super small gap, and then you can go ahead and order a new thrust washer. So that kind of covers that. Let's talk about reaming out your Kingpins. I've had probably about 4 or 5 people send me emails asking about when I ream out the bushings. Excuse me. I need an agua break. When I ream out the bushings on my Kingpin carrier, do I put the spindle assembly in there too and ream out the spindle assembly? That's a negative. We don't want to do that. You just are reaming out the Kingpin carrier and the bushings. And the reason, and that's why you got to buy the right Kingpin carrier reamer, because that thing is like, it's quite a bit longer, so you can make it through both of the bushings in the Kingpin carrier and not do one side and then the other side, because if you do the top and bottom, you're not going to have a perfectly straight ream. So no, you don't ream out your spindle, and you want to make sure that you have the right kind of reamer to ream out both bushings at the same time. So there are a couple places. Carcraft.com, they have the reamer. That's where I got mine from. It's like about $100 last time I checked. And for the thrust washers, for the correct thrust washers, you're gonna have to check out my video because the link is in there. And I think it was Bug City that had the washers. Pretty sure that's who it was, Bug City. All right, guys, let's see if we got anything in the chat. What's going on here? Tampa, Florida. What's up, Tampa? How's it going, guys? Did you guys get any storm issues down there? Tony from Tampa. Also, we got what's this? IMOHR suspension. Are you talking like the Mendola suspension? Is that what that's about? Because I haven't had it yet. If that's that you're talking about, like the tubular type setup suspension, or where you have a more modern front end suspension versus the torsion type system that we currently have. I haven't used it. I'm not sure. I wouldn't really have an opinion on it yet, but definitely something I'm thinking about for the future engine that I'm putting in Goose. What do we got here? When you install the shortened beam, did your tires run the head? Oh, do the tires hit the buckets when I put the beam in? Well, no, I never really had them hit the buckets. But what happened is if I would drop my suspension down like super low, like currently with my adjustable beam on the front end and my 2.5-inch MP drop spindles, I have to keep the beam pretty much fully up, not adjusted down at all. So I probably could have got away with just a narrowed beam without an adjustable part to it, and been fine with the 2.5-inch drop spindles. The problem is when I first got my Beetle, it was kind of down really low. I mean, like Goose didn't have the even look from the front to the back. Her whole front end was diving down, and I had to drive super slow, which I didn't like that ride. And I dragged the front nose of her like once, and that was enough. I went and adjusted my front end up, and that made a huge difference to the way that she rode. And I didn't have any of the rubbing on my buckets at all. But yeah, if you were to drop her down to the ground, there was a little bit every now and then, depending on the bumps I would hit, but it wasn't like dragging against the headlight buckets. So I guess in that circumstance, if you had that issue and like you really wanted to bag it and drop it down, you might need to do the pie cut on the front end to kind of adjust. And that's a whole deal. The whole pie cut of the front nose, the Napoleon nose on the Beetle. That's a whole deal right there that I don't know anything about it. So, but I can refer you to somebody if you hit me up in the comments. Let's see. What type of steering rack will fit in a Beetle? Oh, you mean like an aftermarket one? That's where that Mendola setup comes in, because the Mendola setup actually does have a rack and pinion steering on it. I'm not sure exactly on, like, if you were to go to a junkyard and you're looking for something that would match up. I bet the Samba, if you went to the Samba were to search that, somebody's done it. Guarantee that somebody's done it, but I've never done it. So I've never really had any issues with the stock steering yet. I may have some issues with the stock steering moving forward, and the dampening, because I like modern like rack and pinion setups, because the faster you go, it dampens the steering so that you don't overcorrect while you're going fast. So yeah, check out the Samba for information on that. I'm sure there's some good stuff and articles on it. Let's see. Good question, though. Good question, guys. Keep them coming. Good question. Don't forget to like the video and comment below if you have any questions other than the chat. Let's see if anybody's commenting into the comments. Yeah. If you're putting comments in the chat, cool. I appreciate that. But don't forget to comment on the video as well if you're allowed to. I'm not sure if you're allowed to yet or not. But moving on, guys. Let's talk about some rock around geometry, one of my favorite things. In a future video coming up will be how to adjust side play on your high ratio rockers, because I have 1:4 ratio rockers on Goose. And we're going to go ahead and go through the adjustment, because I have a couple rockers that are outside the 5,000s gap, and that's what you want. You want about a 5,000 gap in between your rockers when you're adjusting side play. And the way that you do that is you start on the 2 inside rockers and work your way out. And on the 2 inside rockers, you adjust it to where, now this is just on ratio rockers, guys. You want to go ahead and adjust the rockers right over top of the valves. Now, if we're talking about a stock application with the wavy washers, or even a stock application to where you have the standard valves, like if you got like a 1600 with standard valves and no high horsepower stuff, and you just got the standard 1-to-1 rockers, you want to go ahead and make sure that rocker, that adjuster is just right, just off to the right of the valve. And the reason why you have to do that is because as it's pushing down on the valve, it's actually turning the valve so that it doesn't wear out the valve guides and maintains the valve seat the way it's supposed to be maintained. Now, with high ratio stuff and stainless valves inside of heads, you don't really have the same concern with that. And that's why with high ratio rockers, 1-to-4s like I have with the big elephant feet, you can put those center right on top of the valve. Plus, I have lash caps too, so that increases the surface area. You don't have the same kind of issues or concerns with a stock application. That's totally different. But 5,000 gap in between, and that's for oiling. With most things with Volkswagens, you want to have that little bit of side play so oil can get in there. If you don't have that little bit of gap there, oil can't get into the shaft, the rocker shaft, and there's little bushings inside of your rockers. And if the oil can't get in there, guess what? It's gonna wear out. You're gonna have like catastrophic, a word like that, that failure of your rockers, and that's no good. That's no bueno. So, what we got? Did you did your front brakes lock up? How did you do? Okay, here's the question. If you guys aren't looking at the chat, the question is from Gilbert. Did I use a 66, 67 wide 5 rear drums on my Bug? Yeah, that's what's on there. and did your front brakes lock up? When did my front brakes lock up? I never had that happen yet with the new disc brakes, with the bad brakes, if that's what you're talking about. With the drum brakes, there was just not enough stopping power, man. The way that I drive my car is a little crazy. Well, I drive faster. Well, I got a big engine, so I drive faster than she's used to, or that the drum brakes can handle. And what I would get was brake fade. And if you've never experienced brake fade before, that's some scary stuff, man. That's some scary stuff. If you have brake fade with drum brakes and you're moving pretty fast, guess what? You're pulling on that e-brake trying to slow things down, or you're trying to use your engine to slow down, and that's no good. So the drum brakes never locked up. I just got crazy brake fade, and I was like, time for disc brakes. And bad brakes are a great option, but like I said in my video, the video that I just put out, I'm looking at the Cool Ride Customs kit. All four wheels I'm going to swap out to vented disc brakes, because the engine that I'm going to be putting in soon, early next year, is got so much horsepower that we're going to have to do some serious brake upgrades. Yeah. Beyond the 110 or 100 mile per hour rating of the bad brakes from air cooled. I'm really trying not to mix up who makes what, and hopefully I'm doing that. Oh, all right. So that's side play rock around geometry, guys, and setting that is super important. And you don't, like, one of my rockers right now on my 1-2 side has got a little, definitely more play than it should have in it. But with the elephant foot rockers and the lash caps, it kind of makes up for that. that play, but you don't want it to run for very long with that much play. So I'm gonna get in there and do an adjustment, and that's a video that's coming out very soon. Moving on to standard rocker arm geometry, or what we all think of when we think about rocker arm geometry. And I would say, out of all the things that we do when we build an engine, when we build a high power engine with a big cam and different length connecting rods, 5.5, 5.4 connecting rods, and the pistons that we're using, the biggest thing that we have to deal with is cutting and putting in the correct length rocker arm or push rods and setting up our rocker arm geometry. Now, I've done a couple different videos on rocker arm geometry, and I have a question from Steven. Hold on a second. We'll get right back to rocker arm geometry. 1 second. Question from Steven. I have 4 piston brakes on the front of my 63 with a 1641. They stop great. Oh yeah. Definitely need them with the bigger. Oh yeah, for sure. I just got the 2 piston brakes, not the bigger wheel width. I don't know what type of brakes you have, but coming up in the news, we're going to talk about MP. MP's got some new brakes out, so I'm going to take a look at MP's too. And like, MP, if you're watching and you want somebody to test out some of your new disc brakes that come with wheel width calibers, I'm your man. Hit me up, because I love, a lot of people have problems with MP, and I've had problems with MP. Almost every MP part I've had to buy has required some level of modification. Yeah. But I know you guys are doing a lot of work over there at MP to improve your products and get the dirty like thoughts that we all have, because I know that we all think of MP and we're like, oh god, if we can find OG original stuff, we're all about it. But or buying from one of the aftermarket houses like CB Performance for quality parts. But MP is working on their game, and I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see that they're putting effort back into getting their products back on par. Good stuff, MP. So what I was saying about rocker arm geometry is, whenever you're setting up the rocker arm geometry, you want your rocker, the face, to be a balanced load between, balanced load at half lift, a balanced load on the face of the tip of your valve, and then at the push rod. But the push rod connects to your lifter down below, so you want balance. You want to balance at half lift there. And when I refer to using like the head as like the imaginary line of the head, and then the imaginary line from the front of the rocker to the back of the rocker, all I'm using that for is a reference point. And I hope that most of you guys understand that the whole point of that practice of measuring half lift, and then because you're going to have to swap out different spacers to get your rocker arm set up where it needs to be, so that you have that even displacement of load between the two. Because if you have too much load on the, let's say on the valve side, if you got the rocker down too far, what you're going to have is too much spring compression, and you can break a spring. Ask me how I know. All right, Alex, I'll get to your question. 1 second, buddy. So in my earlier years, when I was building my dad's engine, my first like high-powered engine that I built, I probably built not a whole bunch of high-powered engines. 4 on my own. I built 4 on my own, and my dad's was one of them. He was the first one I built on my own. And this is before the internet was a thing, before you could look up information, and I didn't know how to set rocker arm geometry. I just kind of like put the engine together, and what ended up happening is I broke 2 intake valves from having incorrect geometry, because you need to have at least 60 thousandths space at full compression. And this comes from VW Duran, by the way. VW Duran, if you're watching, love your stuff, man. Glad you're getting back in the game of putting out videos, and CT's helping you out, because love your stuff, man. A lot of knowledge, a lot of good information. If you guys haven't checked out VW Duran, you really got to, because he's been building engines forever. And those are the guys that, if you're lucky enough, they impart some of their knowledge onto you. And this is where I got this information from. When it comes to compression of the spring at the head, is you need to have at least 60 thousandths gap down at the bottom of the spring. Because if you have too much compression of the spring, what happens is it wears it out. And that's how it breaks. And that's how I broke my dad's engine. There's also a lot of other learning experiences with my dad's engine. I can't believe the thing still runs. But yeah, thanks, Dad, for allowing me to learn on your Beetle engine. All right, Alex. When I lowered my bug with adjusters and narrowed beam, did I make any adjustments to the steering or front suspension to compensate for steer bump? My front end doesn't have the little stop on it that stops from going too far. I kind of just pay attention to my maximums, because if I do go max right or max left, I will get a little bit of rub. So I really don't do that. I probably need to go ahead and install that the bump stop, the one that stops you from going too far, and then you can adjust it. But only thing I really had to change was my alignment. I had to go back and redo my toe, because my toe was like, dude, it was so far in. Whenever I would say it wasn't when I lowered it. It was when I put on the new brakes, because when I put on the new brakes, it added an offset of like almost an inch to both sides. So that's quite a bit. And I had to adjust my my tie rods in like almost all the way to make up for that, but it worked. But there's already, my tie rods are already for a 2-inch narrowed beam. So I hope that answers your question. Hold on. Oh, bump steer, not steer bump. Well, I don't have any problems with that, man. It's she drives like a dream, honestly. Being lowered, I thought I might have to add those camber shims too. You know the ones I'm talking about that you put up underneath the beam to kind of offset that. But she doesn't sit super slam, guys. I mean, like some of you guys out there are slamming her to the ground to where everything drags. She's dragging ass, she's dragging face, all over the place, and I don't really want that kind of like super low ride. So Goose sits level in the front, in the rear, and about 6 inches off from the running boards off the ground. And that's mostly because of the way I drive, because I drive like a bat out of hell, guys. And I want Goose to handle well. And I'm sure if she slams, she's still gonna handle fine. But I don't want it to be like I hit like a rock in the road, or if I hit something that's a little too low, that it's gonna just tear up the undercarriage. And she's been fully restored, and it's beautiful underneath there, and I don't want to jack it all up, man. Quick steer. I did have, if you're talking about like too much steer when you're going fast, is that what you're talking about? Like because when I first did lower it, there was some if I was going at like above 60 miles an hour, I had to watch how I would steer, because it would pull hard to the right and pull hard to the left. And that's what you're talking about. What I ended up having to do was make an adjustment in my steering box to take up that slack. Plus my the pitman arm had slipped down the shaft of the box a little bit because it was a little bit loose. So I had to bump that pitman arm back up against the gear, the bottom of the box, and then tighten it up, and it all went away. I have no problems with my steering. Steer is super great, super great. Do I still have the stock shifter? Nope. I've got an empty like Hurst type shifter. I got rid of the stock shifter. I had a 66 Beetle when I was in Italy, and I had a Hurst shifter in there, and ever since then, that's what I've gone with. I love it. The little short shift on the Hurst shifter is awesome, and yeah, I'll never have a stock type shifter. I know some of you guys put those. My dad did for a while too. The little kit you can buy that goes in with a stock shifter that kind of tightens up the pattern a little bit. But now, man, I'm all about the Black Mamba too. Have you seen that shifter? Who makes that? I don't know who makes the Black Mamba shifter, but that thing is insane. That's pretty nice, but I'm gonna spend that kind of money on a shifter. That's crazy. Oh, steer. Oh, you want some tips on zero lash adjustment? Well, zero lash is for it's a good question, by the way. It's for if you're running chromoly push rods. And the reason why you can do a zero lash on chromoly push rods is they don't grow like the aluminum ones do. And that's why you do like a 4,000ths to 6,000ths adjustment on your intake and exhaust valves for the aluminum push rods, because the aluminum, it grows as it heats up. That's why you don't do your adjustments when the engine's warm at all. You have to do your valve adjustments when your engine's super cold. Because if you did it, let's say you go for a run, you come out like an hour later, and you're like, oh, it's cool enough, and you go ahead and do your valve adjustment, she's not gonna start. She's not gonna start, man. Or if she does, she's gonna run like some crap. So that's why you gotta do that valve adjustment when it's cold. But with zero lash on like my setup, my 1-4 rockers, it's to where you can't have any play in the rocker itself. There's no play there, but you can still rotate the push rod itself. And what I normally do is when I do my zero lash, and I have a video where I kind of cover zero lash. It's there's also the video where I first did the first part of the install on the Vintage Speed. That's who makes it. Vintage Speed makes an awesome shifter. I think they make the Black Mamba, maybe. Vintage Speed fuel gauge. Well, when I first installed that, I went over to zero lash. So check out that video, man. I covered it in there in some detail. So, all right, how long have we been going for, guys? 41 minutes. Holy smokes, Batman! Don't forget to smash the like and comment below, guys. I hope everybody's having a great weekend, and I hope that clears up some of the information on both carburetors, your front suspension, and rocker arms. But don't forget, you can always hit me up with comments below if you have any more questions, or don't forget to join the Facebook group because there's a lot of guys in there. We got I need some more members in the Facebook group because I'm a little superstitious, and I was at 666 members as of like 20 minutes ago. So somebody else join, or somebody's getting kicked out. Some news. I was talking about EMPI. We talked about EMPI for a little bit, and the Willwood calibers that they're starting to use now on their brakes, which is pretty cool. EMPI, if you're watching, more than happy to test out the new brake system, guys. Let me know. Up and coming videos, we're going to be doing the 40 horsepower build pretty soon. And, oh, got another question? What size electric window motors will fit? Electric motors for, I think I saw a video on somebody that actually did install electric motors in the front of their Beetle for the windows, but I would never do that. That's just me, but I know that some guys want to do that for like a custom kind of look. I'm not sure. Maybe the Samba would have some information on that. Maybe Glenn, the Duckman, would know because he did electric motors for his rear windows, which is super cool the way that he did that for Eleanor. So you might want to check that out. He might know. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's I don't think I'd probably ever put anything electric in Goose, but maybe in a future project I'll do some electric motors, but not Goose. Not my baby. No. So 40 horsepower build coming up soon, guys. We also got a bunch of different videos I'm gonna do. I've been meaning to get back to the horn button install so I can get my horn button working right because Goose don't really have a horn right now. Plus I was gonna do a Bluetooth speaker box build with one of the vintage suitcases I have in the back of Goose. We're gonna make one of those into a Bluetooth speaker box, and that is really it for today, guys. I want to thank everybody for joining. It's if you enjoyed the live session, hit me up with some comments below letting you know you do. I wouldn't mind doing a live session following any of my video releases to kind of cover questions that you might have. As always, guys, I really do appreciate all my subscribers and for you guys joining this live video feed today. Don't forget to check out the latest video that I just released, and if you have any comments on it, hit up the comments on that video. But if not, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up right now. And if you do want a sticker, if you want a Volkswagen JWClassicVW sticker, join the Facebook group and IM me your address and I'll get one shipped out to you. Free charge, guys. My stickers will never be no charge to you. I can afford stamps in an envelope and a sticker for you guys because of my subscribers. Yeah. So hit me up if you want one and I'll send one out to you. All right, guys. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And if you're in the Gulf Coast, prayers go out to you because there are more storms forming, and it has been a crazy 2020. Stay healthy, take care of your family, and get out there and work on your cars, guys. Talk to you soon. This is Jason from JWClassicVW, and we're out.